Welcome to today's Explainer. We're about to completely deconstruct everything you thought you knew about detecting a lie. Seriously, we're diving deep into the science of the tell to uncover why your gut instinct is actually way smarter and much more accurate than you've ever been led to believe. Let's get right into it.
Let's start with a scenario I bet you've experienced. Picture this. You're at a dinner party. A friend walks in, sighs, and says she was stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. Okay, normal enough. But 20 minutes later, she casually mentions leaving right after her last meeting. And then, a bit later, she talks about stopping to grab a coffee on the way. Wait a minute. 3 sentences, right? 3 completely different versions of the exact same 20 minutes. But what happens around the table? Absolutely nothing. Nobody calls her out. Everyone just politely ignores that glaring inconsistency.
So why do we do that? Why do we talk ourselves out of what we literally just noticed? Sitting in that room, you probably felt this tiny, wordless static in the back of your mind, just a gut feeling saying, hey, something doesn't add up here. Yet, we just let it go. And that's because society has heavily trained us to distrust our own built-in radar. We've been conditioned to wait for undeniable, hard proof, basically dismissing millions of years of brilliant evolutionary instincts as just random noise.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the myth of the tell. We really need to systematically dismantle these Hollywood illusions we've been taught. The big myth? It tells us that shifty eyes and sweaty palms mean someone is lying to you. But the reality, which is backed up by psychologist Bella DePaulo's extensive research, is that there is absolutely no universal tell, no Pinocchio's nose. Those classic, cinematic behaviors we're always looking for, they're only weakly and inconsistently linked to actual dishonesty. In fact, practiced liars will actually hold eye contact with you intensely. Why? Because they've learned that's exactly what honest people are supposed to do. Crazy, right?
Moving on to Section 2, the cognitive traffic jam.
Since there isn't some magical physical twitch we can catch, we need to completely reframe how we think about lying. We need to see it as a massive computational error in the brain. To get how this works, let's define cognitive load. Basically, this is the mental effort required to hold information in your working memory while you're actively processing it. And here is the truly fascinating part. Lying is incredibly, overwhelmingly expensive for your brain's bandwidth.
Think about it. Telling the truth, that's simple retrieval. You literally just reach back into your memory and pull out what actually happened. But lying? Oh, lying is a massive act of construction. You have to invent a completely new version of events, keep track of what the other person already knows, monitor their reaction, and actively suppress the true story that's sitting right underneath. You're doing all of this at the same time, in real time, all while trying to look perfectly relaxed. That is 5 or 6 heavy cognitive tasks stacked on top of each other. It's utterly exhausting for the brain. And eventually, something's got to give.
And because of that massive mental load, consistency is usually the very first thing to break. Imagine asking a teenager about his Saturday night. Day 1, he says he just hung out and watched a movie. You ask him the next day, and the story subtly shifts. Now they ordered pizza with 2 friends. Day 3, the movie started around 8. Now, to be fair, human memory is naturally a bit fuzzy, so honest fuzziness and dishonest inconsistency, they actually look almost identical on the surface at first.
But here is the secret to telling them apart. Real memories are genuinely messy. They're full of irrelevant texture, and they naturally get richer and more detailed with unprompted recall over time. Constructed stories, on the other hand, are suspiciously clean and smooth. That is, until they are poked. Rehearsed lies crack under unexpected follow-up questions because the liar simply did not prepare the cognitive bandwidth for those specific random details.
Which brings us to Section 3, signs of effortful control.
You see, this cognitive struggle doesn't just happen in the words someone says, it happens in their physical body. This brings us to psychologist Paul Ekman's famous concept of microexpressions. These are these fleeting, lightning-fast flashes of true feeling, often lasting under half a second, before a person can consciously override them. Genuine emotion desperately tries to escape the face and body. So even when someone is actively suppressing the truth, these microexpressions create visible seams in their performance. You might catch a tiny flicker of fear right before a practiced calm settles in, or a slight tightening around the eyes before a reassuring smile.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. Picture a guy being asked by his partner about a weird late-night credit card charge. He answers super smoothly, but his hands go totally still. This is not natural ease, folks. It's a controlled, behavioral rigidity that takes real, conscious effort. He's actively suppressing his body's natural instinct to fidget and self-soothe under stress, purely because he thinks fidgeting looks guilty. But genuinely relaxed people, they don't micromanage their bodies.
So it isn't obvious, cinematic nervousness you should be looking for. It's this tense, highly effortful control.
Let's look at Section 4, defensiveness and cognitive dissonance.
What actually happens when someone is caught in a small, seemingly harmless inconsistency? Well, when you gently challenge an honest person who simply misspoke, their reaction is usually just mild confusion, followed by a quick correction. There's no threat, right? So there's nothing to protect. But a dishonest reaction to that exact same gentle question? It's a completely disproportionate irritation. It's a sudden counterattack. Or they start over-explaining far, far beyond what was actually asked.
So why does that happen? It all comes down to cognitive dissonance, a concept first described by Leon Festinger back in 1957. Basically, it's that deep, agonizing psychological discomfort we feel when our actions and our self-image absolutely do not match. Think about it. A liar is under immense pressure, simultaneously holding two competing truths. Truth 1, I am a good, honest person. Truth 2, I am actively deceiving someone right now. That massive internal gap creates intense psychological pressure. And outwardly, that looks exactly like aggressive defensiveness.
Let's ground this science in a real-world example. Imagine mildly asking a colleague when they came up with an idea you highly suspect they just stole from you in a meeting. An honest colleague will show searching uncertainty. They might pause, think about it, and genuinely admit they aren't totally sure exactly when it hit them. But the deceptive colleague, they will offer immediate, completely unnecessary confidence, followed by a quick pivot away from the topic. Lingering on that question is incredibly dangerous for them, so they give you instant, fake certainty just to escape the moment.
Bringing it all together in Section 5, trusting your gut instinct.
We are now pivoting back to your own body, which is honestly the ultimate lie detector. Here's the mechanical reason why applying pressure works so incredibly well. Unexpected questions cause a liar's mental load to absolutely spike. Their working memory bandwidth completely maxes out, and as a result, the rehearsed performance cracks, and those unmanaged physical cues finally slip through. This is exactly why experienced interviewers, and therapists for that matter, will ask people to tell stories out of sequence. Honest memories can totally handle being poked from a new angle. But a fabricated story, that eats right into the exact mental resource the liar is desperately trying to use to hold their fake narrative together.
So, the crucial point here is that your gut is often way ahead of your conscious certainty. The massive mistake we make isn't feeling uneasy. The mistake is waiting for a formal confession before we are willing to actually trust that unease. The research shows that while us humans are pretty terrible at conscious yes or no lie detection in the moment, our unconscious embodied responses, like that sudden tightening in your stomach, pick up on inconsistencies incredibly reliably.
Let's equip you with your new toolkit. Rule number 1, watch for inconsistency that grows over time across multiple tellings rather than appearing all at once. Rule number 2, look for effortful control, a stillness that looks intensely managed, not obvious movie-style nervousness. And number 3, definitely the most important one, stop treating your own discomfort as something that requires external proof to justify. This is a much quieter and far more durable way to observe human behavior.
Which brings us to a final question for you to ponder. Are you ready to stop waiting for a confession and start actually trusting your own intuition? The truth was never hiding as well as you thought it was. You were just taught not to look for it. It's time to stop gaslighting millions of years of evolutionary instinct. Give yourself permission to see the truth that is standing right in front of you. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Explainer. Trust your instincts and take care of your mind.